Hey friends, I'm Julie Lyles Carr. I'm one of the bloggers here for Krista Media, and I've been asked to do something that I'm hoping will not result in a lightning strike. And by that I mean, I was talking with Rebecca, one of our amazing people who organizes a lot of the different material that you see on the blog and the social media sites and all the different things that Krista Media is so gracious to extend to all of us moms in terms of ideas and things that are going on and information. And she said, why don't we talk about you talking about what it means to really rest in this season that people get so crazy around the holidays? And I thought, oh, I can do that. And then I thought, except I would be like the biggest hypocrite. But I do have some different thoughts on how we can really explore this idea of resting, of getting still, even at this time of year, even with all that's about to go down. We're going to have a series of 3 different vlogs in which we're going to talk about 3 different ways that we can practice getting rest in this crazy, crazy holiday season. And hopefully lightning will not strike. I've been in the book of Hebrews, and Hebrews is one of those books I just love. It's got a lot of practicality mixed with all kinds of beautiful poetry, mixed with all kinds of amazing imagery. It's just got so much to it, and every time that I get into the book of Hebrews, I'm just amazed by what all is there. There's this verse that's really incredible in the book of Hebrews, and it says in Hebrews 4:10, there remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his work, just as God did from his. Therefore, let us make every effort to enter that rest, of God. A lot of us don't really practice anymore as a culture the Sabbath as a day or as a period of time in which we make this every week the time that we rest. I mean, we talk about Sunday a lot as Sabbath, and we sort of like to think that maybe going to church and going out to eat is somehow resting from all that we have going on. But Sabbath really talks about, that's really the idea of completely putting down and putting aside those things that make us so busy, that make us so frenetic. And really in our culture today, I find it gets harder and harder. We've got all of the social media and email ways we stay in touch with each other. We have all kinds of extracurricular things our kids are involved in. And hey, let's face it, church can keep us really busy, right? Even if we're just trying to do church activities on Sunday, that can keep us wildly busy. So I want us to think about Sabbath not so much as an event, but as an approach to life, as a way that we try to infuse and approach the way we're living our lives, that it has an element of Sabbath in it. This one day I was absolutely frantic. I couldn't find it. I was on the phone with my friend trying to listen to a situation in her life that was really, really difficult. And I was frenetically looking for this item that I had to have in order to be able to leave. I had already some of the kids in the car. Some of my children were really little at the time, and they were already squalling because I gotten them strapped in, got in the diaper bag, got the dance bag, got the sacra bag, all the stuff that we needed to make all these crosstown trips for all this stuff my kids were going to do. But I'm trying to be a compassionate friend. I'm listening to my friend on the phone, the phone hitched between my shoulder and my ear, and I'm just getting more and more frenetic because I cannot find it, and we cannot leave until I can find it. And finally, I said to my friend, hey, I'm so sorry this is going on in your life, and I really do want to hear more about it. But the thing is, I've got to find my cell phone, and I can't leave the house till I find my cell phone, the cell phone that I was talking on. I mean, that's how you know when you're getting to a place that life has gotten too busy, when you can't even find the cell phone that you're talking on. And yet for many of us, particularly as we come up to the holidays, that's the kind of nuttiness that's going on between trying to make sure that we've got all the Christmas cards out. And of course, of our list of 100, it seems like 47 people have moved, to the Christmas plays that our kids are in, to the different Christmas pageants that our church is doing, to the different end of the season soccer banquet that's got to go on, to the holiday parties for our work or our spouse's work. We cram so much into the next few weeks that many times it's like we can be on a cell phone and not even realize we're on a cell phone. We are so disconnected from the present of what's going on for the very next thing that we need to get to. Nowhere in that is a Sabbath approach to the season. Nowhere in that is a place where we're saying, hey, we're going to call a pause, we're going to call a rest. We're one of those cultures that when we go on vacation, we pack it with activity after activity after activity. How many of us come home from vacation even more tired than when we left because we crammed so much into it? But a Sabbath rest, to approach something with a Sabbath rest, means that we truly just stop, pause, get still, lay down the usual routine and responsibilities. But I think one of the first things that we have to do on this first session, what we want to talk about is practicing a prognosis. One of my kids, and I'll leave it anonymous so that there won't be any public embarrassment possibly, but one of my kids truly, when they were little, really felt life should be a clothing optional activity. And so this was the kid that no matter the time of day or who was coming over, when they were a toddler, they were just always in the buff. They were always all natural. And for this particular child's birthday, this child received from her daddy and me an easel. One of those huge easels that you think is going to be a great idea, the plastic easel, and then it takes like this ginormous corner of your formal dining room because that's the only place where you can store it. So we had gotten this particular child this easel, and this child was all about it. And we get into the paints and on and on. However, this child had an interesting practice. Instead of just painting the paper that was on the easel, which was the point of the big easel, this child would paint themselves all over. And since this was a child who was sort of living life in a very natural state, if you catch my drift, that paint was all over this kid all the time. Well, I put up with it for a couple of rounds and then trying to get the child cleaned up. And then when you're trying to clean paint off of a child, then you're scrubbing down the entire bathroom. And then there's just the irritation that you've bought this big ginormous easel to go in your house and the easel's not being used, the paint's being used, but not the easel. So at some point I said to this particular child, okay, here's the thing. At this point, you are not to paint your body anymore. You can paint paper on the easel, but you are not to paint your body anymore. Sure enough, the very next day, come wandering out, and this child, again, all natural, has painted themselves green. And I mean green from the top of the head all the way to the toes. Green, green, green. And I walked out and I said, honey, we had this conversation. I told you that we were not going to put paint on our body again for a while, that we were only going to use paper. This child looked down at their Grinch self and said, it's not paint. And I thought, they said it with such conviction. It's not paint. I said, I think it's paint. This child said, it's not paint. And they seemed so assured that I had that moment that I thought, well, maybe it's not paint. Maybe there's something else I'm unaware of that this child is now smeared all over themselves. It's green. It's very green. What else could it be? It was definitely paint. Look, for a lot of us, we need to practice a prognosis when it comes to this idea of rest and Sabbath. Now, you're going to have to be brave. But I want you to ask someone you trust, hey, is this paint? How busy do I seem to be? How frenetic does my family life seem to be? When you look from the outside in, what do you see about our family schedule, about the way that we're conducting our lives, about what our calendar looks like? Get with someone you trust and ask them. Practice a prognosis. Where does it look like our family life is really headed with the level of activity, involvement, commitment that we have? Sometimes we need somebody from the outside looking in to remind us, look, it really is paint. It really is paint. And so we need those moments to have someone we trust be able to speak into our lives and let us know when things are starting to get a little bit out of hand. So that's step one about rediscovering rest, about really practicing an approach of Sabbath, is to practice a prognosis. Get brave. Ask someone you know, hey, what does it look like from here? What's your view? How do you think we're doing when it comes to the busyness of life? We've got 2 more things that we'll be talking about in upcoming weeks when it comes to this idea of trying to approach Sabbath as an approach to life, not just an event, not just a nap on a certain day, but those moments that we're willing to take a pause, to take a rest, to break away from the usual crazy, and particularly as we come into the holiday season. I'll see you next time.